Runners Only with Dom Harvey.
Runners Only with Dom Harvey and Rachel Hunter. Hello.
What am I doing here? No,
What do you mean? What are you doing here? It's fabulous to have you here. So we're sitting in my podcast lounge. We are. I just want to start by giving a reference point to like just what a big deal you are and just how famous you are, because I'm guessing there's probably maybe two demographics of people listening to this. There's people that know you're a big deal but think, oh, that was Rachel, she was a big deal in New Zealand and then she married Rod Stewart. But then there's people older than that, like me, that remember like just how famous you were in the late 80s and 90s. And to give you reference, so where we're sitting, it is literally a stone's throw away from the Celebrity Walk at Victoria Park Market. Now, this used to be a thriving sort of mall. Now it's just offices. But there's a Celebrity Walk there, which I think is one of the best kept secrets in Auckland. No one knows about it. And you're there with your hand. How old were you when you did your handprint in the concrete? Like 18, 19, 17?
It was probably pretty young. It was probably like 20, like 18, 19, 20, I guess. Yeah. Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. Yeah, I was probably about 19, 20 at that stage. But yeah, honestly, that whole, just everything right from the beginning when I started at 16 to, that point. I mean, I never expected any of this. And I was, just so you know, and I told you this before, but I actually got found running because I was running. And because I was a runner.
Yeah, you told me this.
You're laughing at this.
No. You don't have to justify your place on the podcast. Yeah, so you were an 800-metre runner when you were at school.
No, well, I did the athletics. Like, I was really into the athletics at school, at high school, and I threw myself into that, as well as I was a ballerina. So I also I studied dance for a long, long time, for like 11 years. And then at school I did the athletics, school athletics. So I was 800. I did the 100, but obviously with my height, the 100 wasn't the best one. And then from that, once I left school, or to keep my running and my technique up, I guess, was I would run 10Ks a day down to ballet. So I would run from Glenfield to Milford and then dance for like 4 hours, and then my mum would pick me up. And during that time when I was running was when actually someone spotted me on the beach when I was doing my 10K run a day. So I'd do 10Ks like every day. And it was something that, and and I'm sure that's what you've found, is there was a freedom in it. There was the mind was free. By the time you start, when things were like heavy at the beginning of like how the school was or what was going on at home or what you're personally going through as a teenager, by the time I was down at the beach, everything had changed.
Yeah.
And I think that's the beauty of like exercise, of finding something, what your flow is, whatever that is, and that changes, and the evolution of who we are is really important. And I think sports does that for us. I mean, it's our entry point, isn't it, for helping that physical side.
Absolutely. I mean, the mental health benefits that I get from running are second to none. What were you listening to music back then? I'm guessing you would have had
my Walkman?
like a Walkman or a Discman. Yeah, this is.
I'm just trying to think. Yeah, the Discman wouldn't have gone down so well. That would have like been scratched. But I think it was. God, I don't even know if
maybe like a Walkman with a cassette on. That's how crazy. So what do you mean you discovered on the beach? How does that happen? So you're running.
I was running, and then I was just coming off the beach to go up Milford Road to cool off, and basically this guy comes running up to me and he goes, do you want to model? And I was like, no, I don't, no. I'm like, that's creepy, right? And like, who comes up and says that to a 16-year-old girl? Like, that's creepy.
Who was he? Can you remember who he was in hindsight? It must have. He was a legit, obviously.
Yeah, he was, and and he was the one who took my very first photos and stuff, and I took the card, took it home to my mum, and within the next week I was in his studio taking photos, and the next week later I was in a modelling agency, and then it all just, so the running actually was something that, so that's what you just don't know. Your actions that take you out of places sometimes are the things that really make you, well, they all do for us, right? Find our loves or find out what our path is, right? Yeah, and then it kind of just all went from there. What
did you have, like, from the lens now of a woman in her early 50s? You look at 16-year-old Rachel. What did she have? What was that X factor?
I have no idea. I thought I was, honestly, growing up, I had a buck teeth. I had I was a geek at school. Everybody teased me. I used to have yogurt at lunch in the corner where I didn't like speak to anybody. And my sister was like the best. No, I'm not joking. No. It was really lanky, like really super lanky and awkward. But at the same time, I went and did the ballet because that's where I kind of got lost in that. So I don't know what that was. But I certainly didn't believe it, but I thought it was hilarious. Like, okay, we can do that.
So must have just been like a natural beauty, I guess.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
But so how different would your life have looked had you not met that guy? Didn't you have like toxoplasmosis, and you had to stop dancing?
Yeah.
And you wanted to be a vet?
I wanted to be a vet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it would have definitely gone into that. I mean, I tried secretary school even when I was doing modelling. Was
that a thing?
I did actually. Went to secretary school. It was like you're sitting there on the typewriters. It's a true thing. And I was there, and I think I got shoved out of there because I didn't turn up for that, so I got booted out of that. But I would have absolutely kind of gone more the vet or something, yeah. Yeah. And toxoplasmosis was,
what is that exactly?
It's from cats. Funnily enough, usually pregnant women, if they're around litter boxes or something, they get it, or from raw meat. So I actually don't know. Around 15, that's when I got it. And I was extremely tired. I had 9 months basically away from school. And again, that was a pivotal moment where it was like, okay, the dance has got to stop. I can't dance anymore. To get that muscle back, having trained for all those years, and for a disease like that to kind of come in, it took me down. Even just to go out for a drive, it would exhaust me, and I'd have to come home and sleep for 4 hours. So all those, it's so hard to tell people because, listen, there was nothing that was harming me. Obviously, yes, toxoplasmosis was a disease. There were certain things in the home that was like mum and dad splitting up. There was all these different scenarios that were happening that pushed me to where I am today. But to say that is a very hard thing because you do have to trust the process of it, but we do have to be active and proactive in our own evolution and to make those choices. And that's the hard part that we go, but how do we do that?
Yeah.
You know? And I think what we have to do is, not what we have to do because I can't speak for other people, but for making those choices, those healthy choices for ourselves, like the running, eating different choices of friends like that. We're not trees. We can change. You know, we can move. We can shift location. But it's funny because all those moments, we go back to the, how many times have you said that's what made me who I am now? Like that's
everything leads to
even
the next thing.
The shittiest things. No, I'm not talking about horrific, scenarios. I'm going to make that clear. But like the normal day-to-day things that happen to us that that are those pivotal moments in our life.
How old were you when your parents broke up? And you mentioned that just before, and I know how you were
times.
You were so you were so close with your mum, but I was just thinking I know nothing about your dad.
Yeah. So there were scenarios.
This sounds like my upbringing,
5,
by the way.
And then there was another like there were different scenarios that kind of were those were some kind of fun and interesting times to be a parent, right? Like everything was pretty loose, right?
Yeah, I can relate.
I'm not talking about me as a parent. I'm talking about like our parents.
Your parents. Yeah.
And there was no seat belts. Like there was a whole.
No, it was very loose. Very loose. You'd go out and play all day and just come home when it gets dark.
Yeah.
'Cause my mum and dad broke up on and off again numerous times, and I look back now, and it was a toxic relationship, and they stayed together for the kids. It would have been better if they broke up.
Yeah, there was definitely different times, and there was definitely scenarios that happened. Do you care about that?
What, the siren?
Yeah.
No, it's all right.
Okay, good. So, like life, let's hope that person is going to be okay.
Probably Ram Raiders.
Oh my God.
We're in Auckland. Oh yeah, so your parents.
There were many times that they kind of like did this, there was the same scenarios that happened, and he's so cute. She's like, no.
Kanye's just come back in.
He's like something else.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, listen, by the time I was 15, I was like, can you guys please just like break up, because this is like just obviously not working.
Yeah.
And, kids know that. They're not silly, are they?
Yeah. Was it like a fighty household, or just tension in the air?
It just didn't work.
Yeah.
It just didn't work. And Dad's amazing. Like, he is the life and soul of a party. He worked for Continental Airlines. He worked in the airlines for years. So he was very... We travelled because he was working in Air New Zealand and NAC back then. But he was, he was the life and soul of the party. Extremely funny, very good looking. My parents were very, very good looking. Just stunning couple. But yeah, it just didn't work out in the end.
You're still quite close now?
With Dad, yeah. He's down in he was down in Tauranga for a while, and then he's in Whakatane, and then I think they're moving back. But he keeps it pretty low profile.
Yeah, never seen him in the public eye or anything.
No.
Do you think God, this may be a bit psycho-analysing here, but with marrying Rod and the big age gap there, people immediately, when there's an age gap, they say daddy issues.
Yeah. I have no idea, because I don't know, like, where are we at now in relationships? There's many people doing, different. Is it really? Guys, I just want you to know that I'm going through menopause.
What?
My daughter's just interrupted me saying that I'm sweating on the top of my lip when I'm actually not sweating.
Renee, come on in. Do you want to dab your mum?
There you go.
Yeah, I'm
so I know the dad, like the whole, like the daddy issues. Rod and I were like, we were meant to be together.
Yeah.
Like, it was really strong, and I didn't feel, I'm just not that type of person that's going to go. But maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I don't know. Like, I mean, when we look at, like if you want to go back and, I mean, just look at movies. Like, people has been doing crazy stuff. Like, you could psychoanalyze a lot of stuff. And then I went the other way. So there wasn't actually, if I look at my types, there's not actually
a type. Yeah. I feel like with you, it's probably a personality type. Like Rod was older than you, but he's a fun guy.
Oh yeah.
Fun guy. But we'll get to that. We're jumping around a bit here.
Okay,
but I can sort of relate. 'Cause my girlfriend at the moment, there's like a 21-year age gap between us.
Yeah.
And
How does that feel?
Well, I say to her,
how's the music station switching on there? Like, music-wise?
She doesn't know what a radio is. But we had a chat on the phone yesterday. There are things that come up from time to time. And I was talking about some people, and I said, they like Beavis and Butthead. And she was like, what's Beavis and Butthead?
Okay.
So there's little, I suppose, pop culture references that come up. But I obviously to her, people are going to say you've got daddy issues. And she's like, well, I've got a great relationship with my dad. I love my dad so much. So I think that's a cop-out that people can...
I think it's something that people can just start in a conversation and say, and it's a great thing that people can talk about and know everything, but who gives a fuck in the end? Like, as long as you're happy, you do you, and everyone else can do them.
Absolutely. God, I feel like
That's it.
Yeah, well, listen, we'll get to this in more depth later. I feel like you copped a lot of shit at the time, though.
Ben?
Yeah, like I did a little bit of research for this chat we're having today, and you were on Letterman and you're on the late night talk shows, and it was a thing in all of them. And some of the line of questioning would be like entirely inappropriate under the 2023 lens. And you were just always really good at laughing it off and not making the host feel like a dick, even though they were being dicks.
Yeah.
But anyway.
It was... Yeah, it's so funny. Like, I mean, I look at, like, sometimes people say, oh, some of the work that we have done over the years, but it was relative to that time. That was a decision that was made during that era, and it's not stuff I would do now. There's certain things I wouldn't do now, if the choices as far as even, I love that the dog's dry humping whatever that teddy is.
It's a cactus. But we call all the stuff to his bunny.
That would be pretty hard.
Where's Bunny?
To hump the cactus. It's a cactus. Why couldn't you get him something else other than a cactus?
Oh, he's got so many toys.
Yeah.
By the way, he doesn't do this with all the guests.
Well, yeah.
He must be like, this lady's an animal lover. She was going to be a vet.
I was really scared what you were going to say then. There was definitely some rough things, but I think it definitely comes down. Just get him dry humping. It would be good, right? There we go. Go.
Where's Bunny? Where's Bunny? Where's Bunny? Oh, this is shambolic. Sorry, Rachel. I'm
Sorry.
normally way more professional than this.
No, this is. Oh my God, we're gonna pretend
Where's
that
Bunny?
we're gonna.
Where's Bunny? Where's Bunny? No, he's like, no, please, no photos. Okay, so
No, but the whole the getting flack off all the media and stuff. Like, I think it is what it is, and you just go through it. Yeah.
But so like one of the earliest clips of you I found is when I think you were 16, 17. You'd just signed like a $100,000 contract, and the reporter said something like, "You're going to be earning more than the Prime Minister." You were so wise beyond your years back then. Like when you look back and see clips like that, I think you shared it on your Facebook page like about a year ago.
Yeah.
Do you still feel like that person, or does that feel like a completely different person?
No, I've really been driven by my heart completely, and that's
all
why,
along.
Yeah, I would say so, absolutely. Like mostly, like I mean, obviously, I've made some dumb, silly choices in work and stuff. But
have you like what?
As far as just different TV shows, I think I would have done, or been put in the firing line as far as like doing stuff like that and coming back with more. Quicker answers or appropriate things, but you're young. Like you're not.
I thought you always handled yourself beautifully.
Yeah. Well, thank you. But yeah, it was. I don't know.
So you discovered on the beach, and then over what time span? So because when you were 17, you were on the cover of like 4 magazines in Australia at once, like Vogue.
I know.
Like big legit magazines.
Yeah.
So you get discovered by this guy. You have some photos taken. Like how? So you're at
like
school,
months.
then you're not at school. And
so basically, I was doing my math exam, and then they were like, "Rachel, there's a phone call for you." And then they were like, "Okay, you have a shoot tomorrow. Do you want to do it?" And I was like, I put down the phone and never went back into the math exam and walked straight out of the front of the school.
What phone? Landline in the office.
Landline in the office. Just FYI, for those who don't understand what a thing is, it has a curly tail or a straight tail.
Probably even would have buttons or a dial.
No, it was dial. It was probably definitely a dial.
Shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was it.
So I'm calling bullshit when you say you looked funny and you had buck teeth, and you must have been like a standout at school.
No, but I wasn't. Like
all of your schoolmates in Glenfield kind of been going, Rachel, a model, not a chance.
Yeah, like it's.
I think you're just downplaying it.
No, I'm not. I'm absolutely
Yeah?
not. No, like I was just really tall, lanky, geeky, curly hair, and I didn't know who I was. It was just me, and it's always been that way too. It hasn't really changed from that. Like I sometimes you kind of become more aware, and you're like, okay, I need to lose this or do that or do something different. Like you have more of an awareness, but then no, there was still that innocence, and I think that's what it was. You're innocent of who you are.
Did you stay innocent, or did you grow up fairly fucking quickly?
No, but I definitely, I had that ability to like go, no, that's not right. Yes, this is right. Or I'm not putting up with that. I definitely had a great time. I mean, we were nonstop traveling. I used to, sometimes I think, with Sports Illustrated, I was out there for 3 or 4 weeks, which some people just were coming in and out. But honestly, I literally had this incredible career delivered to me, and like going, this is, and I had no idea really when I look back now and go, oh wow, you were given that, and you did that. Like you were doing Revlon, CoverGirl, all these magazines, like, and campaigns, and you're like, I didn't really realize what I was doing.
You're living
just
it. But do you spend much time reflecting on it now, and just how mind-boggling and amazing it is?
So grateful.
Yeah,
So grateful.
This was a time. This was a time where like supermodels were a thing, and there was like a few. So there was like Naomi Campbell, there was Cindy Crawford, Christy Brinkley, Elle McPherson.
Yeah, yeah.
And you were in that mix amongst them. Little Rach from New Zealand. Like I can't overstate just like what a big deal you were in New Zealand at the time.
Yeah, it was interesting because when it first happened, I don't know how that happened either, like, or the attention over it. I don't know how that happened. Like it just all, because I remember walking down Queen Street and I was like, oh my God, like people going, hey, Rach, hey, Rach, hey, Rach. And I remember walking in the back of Queen Street down that road because I was just like, I'd freaked out because I was like, this is, people know, like it scared me. But at the same time, once I adjusted, because that's what you do, you adjust, it became just normal. My way of life. Yeah.
Well, I suppose at the time, like, media wasn't fragmented like it is now. So there was like two or three TV channels?
Yeah, it was like two. Yeah. And then Goodnight Kiwi came on, I think, at midnight, didn't it?
Tell everyone it was time to go to bed. So it's like, if you were on the news, everyone knew you were on the news. There was no social media, no nothing. It was TV and radio and newspapers, and that's it.
Yeah.
So when
Isn't it amazing how actually news actually got out?
Yes.
In that fashion, where now it's like you have to be feeding constantly with content to be at all in this game anymore.
Yeah, because I don't think there's very many true household names anymore. Maybe like Jacinda Ardern, she was a household name.
Yeah.
But there's not many. But you were a household name.
Yeah, I mean, I think also. Yeah, during that time, and then also when I did we're going to jump probably to that, New Zealand's Got Talent, and then Tour of Beauty. I love, he's actually moved the bed in now too. Like, we've now got the cactus and the bed that has moved in. Renee, you're not doing a very good job babysitting.
It's supposed to be a bed, but he just like scrunches it up and humps the side of it.
I mean, he's worked out. Gigi's going to be like, what have you done to the dog today?
He's spent. Yeah. So when did the Trumpet ad come about? That was an iconic New Zealand.
Oh my God, that happened. That someone said, "Oh, there's this ad, Trumpet." Like, that was also the beginning of it. That was one of my very first jobs. We're all going to go up north in the car, and then they needed the one shot. We shot the TV commercial. They needed one more shot, so they took me to Mount Eden, and I licked the trumpet, and then that was what ended up in that clip.
So I've got something to show you. There used to be a thing in New Zealand's Women's Weekly. It was like a celebrity lookalike page, and I think you won like $5 or a golden kiwi or a lotto ticket. Anyway, my sister Bridget, who's 1 year older than me, she won as a Rachel Hunter lookalike.
Oh my God, she did! Oh wow!
Although to be fair, the hair is kind of similar, but like she's got an ice cream as a prop. She gave herself every.
No, that's pretty amazing.
Is it?
Don't you think?
That's been like the highlight.
We could be related.
Eh?
Are we related?
Absolutely not. But that's been like the highlight of the Harvey family.
God, that's amazing.
Oh, it's not that.
You can see that though. That is.
Can you?
Oh, absolutely. Why do you not think so?
She's my sister. Absolutely not a model.
That's pretty amazing. Oh, you guys will get a clip of that. That's pretty damn close.
Yeah. So.
It's pretty amazing.
Well, your eyesight's gone, I reckon.
No, it's not. The hair's really close too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, so you're 17. You're overseas. Where are you? In New York or Paris? When you're earning $100,000 a year.
So basically, I went on to New York. They asked me to go over there. Ford did, because I was going backwards and forwards to Australia. Went on to New York City. Mum was with me. I was like, great. I was going with Eileen Ford at the time.
From the Ford modelling agency.
Yeah, from Ford modelling. And then that was it. Revlon, the CoverGirl, started doing all the magazines, Elle Magazine, Harper's Bazaar. Again, it just like kind of got delivered. And then it just kept going. And then obviously it was a fun time to be in New York City. But
why was it a fun time?
I don't know. There was well, I guess it was my age. Like, I mean, you know, there were the clubs there. At the same time, I was always on a plane. There wasn't a lot of downtime. But when you were, it was different than it is going out now for kids, right? Like, everything's really super. Look, I was never really a crazy going, you know, out person anyway. I mean, I was really only someone who drank and that was it. Like, I mean, I was done. Ironically, people are like, no, you must have been. I was like, no, I was never that person. And I had an amazing time. But then, you know, I hit 20. Well, at the same time, I went out with a couple of people in the music industry when I was younger, like Kip Winger.
Oh yeah. From the band
time,
Winger.
Yeah.
They had a song called Miles Away or something. Was that it?
Yeah.
Right.
And And then
Was this pre-rod?
Pre-rod,
Right,
yeah.
right.
So I guess I did have a little bit of a type for a little bit.
A bad boy thing, maybe?
Maybe.
Who else? Anyone else that would know?
There's probably, yeah.
Okay.
I'm not going there.
Okay, so
And don't go on, what is that stupid site that goes, who have you dated? Because half those people, I'm like, I had nothing to do with them at all. So.
Oh, really? Is that a thing?
That is a thing.
Well, that seems highly offensive and inappropriate anyway.
Yeah, it is.
We like the Taylor Swift of the 90s or something.
It's like, what?
So did anything bad happen in that time? Like any creepy photographers, comments about your diet, comments about your weight, anything?
No, there would always be like, I was more a full figured model. We were very lucky at that time because at the same time there was not a weight issue there because it was more of the normal shape figures. It wasn't like super skinny. But at the same time, every now and then you'd be eating or having a couple of drinks more than what you should, and there'd be 10 pounds or 15 pounds. So there was always that awareness there. Yeah. But I mean, again, as hard, I wouldn't put up with that. I wouldn't put up with it.
Yeah, and that I find that amazing. So where did that sort of self-assurance or confidence come from? Because it definitely comes across in old interviews you've done as well. It's like you're not going to take bullshit from anyone. But you.
There was a couple of times that absolutely it hurts, and when someone says that, it's like any time that someone kind of nips you and says it happens when you're older. As well, where someone goes, "Hey, you're out of line," and you're like, and it hurts. You're actually like. Maybe I am. Maybe I do need to pull my head in. Maybe I do need to get myself together. So it still happens, but I think as far as dealing with, there's been some scenarios that happen, but at the same time, nothing that I couldn't handle myself.
Yeah.
And put my foot down because I'm that type of person. I don't know where that comes from, but I mean, I'll take and then I roar. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, good for you. It's amazing. And how did this stuff not go to your head at the time? If it was me, I'd be an out of control egomaniac. I would be. Oh yeah, I reckon I'd be a diabolical mess.
Really?
Yeah. Shit. Yeah. 3 weeks in the Bahamas having my photo taken and private jets and all that. I'd be a nightmare to be around. How did you keep grounded?
I always considered it a New Zealand thing because I was like, you always realize, and I did not come from a wealthy background whatsoever. I came from a family that was, back then fruit and vegetables from the store was the cheapest food, right? Normal organic food that we call organic now, that everyone buys in expensive expensive places, was our normal food. I don't know. I just didn't. I don't know. I always think of. There's people that are in a far harder scenario than what I am, and you see that. You can see that on the street. You can see it from when you get out of a car and so-called you're in a limo and you look and you take in what's around you. You see people. There's suffering or there's this. So you remain humble and you may remain aware, and at the same time you create that action that you don't forget where you came from.
Fuck, you're. You can ask your mum this because she passed a few years ago, but you could ask your dad. But your parents must be so proud, not of your achievements and accomplishments, but just of your character. Did you ever have a chat to your mum about that, or did she say that?
No, I mean, I was a very withdrawn child when I was growing up. I was very, very quiet. This is going to be funny, but I used to speak to the animals. The only friends that I had was my animals. I used to make ant farms and insect farms. And, now I'm going to start sounding crazy, but they were my friends. They were my friends for a long time because I really was very sensitive to, school was hard. School's hard. It gets nasty.
Yeah, I read you got teased. People used to say you had a carrot up your ass because of your dance posture.
Yeah, all of that. And I just found a lot of nervous of like what people said. It's so funny now. I'm recalling on that. It's like nervous of what people said or what people thought or cared about that. I actually cared about that. So that is a very big flaw in my personality, and it's one of those things that I now go, no, like, you know, it's one of my big things that you got to go out, especially after Mum died. I was like, you can't apologize for who you are. But yeah, I was a very inward, quiet child, and found friends very, very overwhelming.
But did you have a good crew when you were at school?
Look, I don't know what happened, but no, I didn't. No. I mean, I did. I had 2 or 3 really good friends, yeah, and I will say that. And look, people weren't horrible. It was just who I was. You know what I mean? It was just who I was.
Any boyfriends at school? Like, is there a 53-year-old bloke in Glenfield going around that saying he went to the ball with Rachel Hunter?
I think I went out with someone, and I can't remember that or who that was, when I was 10. And then I found out that they'd told one person, and I dumped them and said, no, that's not working out. So can you just tell me, like, how are you meant to have a relationship?
Yeah.
How are you meant to have a relationship when you're scared of people knowing?
Oh, no, Dougie, we're not going to... Dougie just brought up a website called who'sdatedwho.com. Is that the website you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you on there? No, like in your own, like, thing. Like, do you have a Dom page in there?
Oh, God, I doubt it. Hang on.
We're not going through the list.
No. Dougie, I'm not going through the list. So, how did you meet Andy Hayden, and when did he come into the picture? I feel like he was your manager for so many like decades, and it was a successful partnership. Like, often these things turn nasty, and someone's being ripped off, but that never happened. I feel like he was such a protector of you, and so good for your career.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, Andy, I was 17, and with the agency scenario, I was kind of getting sick of it. So I read the sports section because I was always reading the sports section, God knows why. And then I saw this person in the back, Andy Hayden, representing some All Blacks and whatever he was doing at that time. And I shut the newspaper and I said, that man, if he's managing an All Black, then I want him to manage me. At 17, okay? So I called up and I said, can I speak to Andy? And I said, I want you to manage me. And he goes, what am I going to do with you? Like, he was like, I remember him saying that. And he goes, let me think about it. And I was a little bit ego then. I was like, what do you mean you got to think about it? Like, come on. If you can manage an All Black, you can manage me. And he put the phone down. He goes, give me the weekend to think about it. Anyway, never heard back. And I was like, no, this is not happening.
Wow.
And then I aggressively went after him to manage me, and eventually goes, okay, let's give it a try. And I said something like, don't be, you need to take me on. You can't, like, how, like, you need to take me on. And, and that was it. And I became so close to, Trish, Laura and Chris I've known since they were babies. And I mean, Andy knew what to do. He knew, like he. How
did he know? Just because I mean, this is a time like you were cutting your own path. I mean, there's talent managers everywhere now. So agencies are a dime a dozen, but this was uncharted waters then.
Yeah.
So how did he know what to do? Was it just like an instinct thing?
No, I mean, look, there was, I think it is. I think you either have that in you as far as knowing what to manage, how to manage somebody, because you're dealing with the same, very different types of people, right? But at the same time, the All Blacks have a certain thing that they're looking for, or those athletes, they're a personality in themselves. So it's the same thing. Deals have been offered. It was just different as far as like TV offers or the women's magazines, all of those types of things would come in. So, and it just worked. And he was not only someone who was a manager, obviously he was a great mentor. He was a great father in some ways too. Obviously I have my dad, but he was definitely had that.
Yeah, I didn't want to call him a father figure because I thought that might be offensive to your dad, but he definitely was, wasn't he?
He was a very big influence on all of our family. My sister, my mum, like dad, like he took care. He had that magnificence about him, and also never forget, like, Trisha, I mean, she's just an incredible woman too, and of course now the kids, Laura and Chris, and obviously Chris manages me now, but yeah.
Oh, does he?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah, like I stayed in there because, it goes beyond, just getting deals. To me, there's this deep set relationship, and you don't buy that, you can't pay a percentage for that, because, there needs to be, you need you need to nurture that, and it's really important to me. So yeah, I've been there since I was 16, basically 17. But I hunted him down, and I would not take no for an answer. I was like, nope, you are managing me.
Well, you are a hunter by name and nature.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's amazing to think that you had that sort of sense of knowing what you wanted at that age.
Oh my God, clear as a whistle.
Yeah.
Clear.
Unbelievable. And
It's funny,
also,
isn't it funny though what happens? Like when you look at those pivotal moments, you will be so clear, right? Like you don't even hesitate. You just go no, or you just go yes, right?
Yeah.
There is no hesitation.
Well, but you think at that age you'd be like asking other people what they think, like your parents or whoever.
Yeah, no, I didn't even know.
And what about your parents at this time? So your mum sort of became like your chaperone for a while.
Well, she was there for about took me over there, and then pretty much I left home by the time I was 16. So I was living actually with my boyfriend at the time down on the beach at 16, 17. So I left home quite early. So I was out on my own. I went from being this shy, inward child that had toxoplasmosis, that was, doing ballet, was doing ballet competitions, was running, had very, a few very important friends at school, but, that school was not my thing. I know now it's not a lot of people's, but yeah, and then it was like, boom, straight out the gate. There was just no looking back after 16. I don't know what it was. It was like an explosion. Like who was that happened, to who the hell were you at 16 who just turned around and just knew what you were doing?
And do you spend much time reflecting now or not really? Like that was a crazy few years.
Yeah, like I look.
It was insane.
Yeah.
Have you got like the magazine covers hung up in frames around your house? No? Where are they? In a box somewhere?
Yeah, because I did have them downstairs in a pool table room, but I didn't want, with my children growing up, I didn't want them to see that.
Why?
Because I don't think I want them to have their opportunity to, like, what was hanging on the wall was us, where that was, I've done that, and the kids knew, and I did have them hanging up for a little bit, but like I said, I took those down pretty fast because I didn't want them to, I just didn't want them to have to know me as that, because that's someone's version, that's someone's dress-up version of me.
Fair.
Yeah.
And one cover that you made it onto the cover of was Playboy, and like it's easy to look at Playboy now and go, oh, God, that's ick. But this was a big thing at the time. Like Playboy was a classy magazine. It's not like the porn that's online now.
No. It was, I mean, look at...
You were on the cover of that and it said, Stacey's mom is naked.
I know. It wasn't anything to do with...
How do you feel about that now, looking back?
I wouldn't change it because, again, I think that the photographer, he was really beautiful how he shot it. I wouldn't apologise about that whatsoever because, like you said, there was person after person after person who was on the covers and did.
Oh, it was a legit
editorials.
thing for now. A celebrity's manager would say, "Don't dare do this." But back then, Kim Kardashian, Cindy Crawford, Al McPherson, Marilyn Monroe back in the day.
And the thing is people have to see that was relative to that time.
Yes,
now, would we do it now? I probably wouldn't. But it was relative, so there is no shame on me to do that. Do you know what I mean?
I read an interview with your daughter saying she'd never do it.
Yeah, no,
never do it. But did you get paid heaps, like $2 million or something?
No, not that much. No. It wasn't a.
Is it one of those things you do for the money or for the opportunity? Because Playboy wasn't a step.
There was money involved.
Yeah.
But it was there was a part where there was a. It was a thing to do at that time. You go back and look at that era of how many girls did it and who did it. It was pretty.
It was an incredible lineup. It was like a who's who of A plus celebrities.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Rod. First of all, in preparation for this interview, I downloaded his book on Audible, and I've been listening to some of that. Have you ever read that book?
No.
But I'm guessing people have told you about what's in it and stuff.
No. No, I know a little bit, but no.
Why? Too hard or?
No, because I know the story really well.
Yeah, but there's, as you know, with any situation in life, there's one perspective, another perspective, and then the truth's usually somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
But did you get to pre-read or suggest any edits
No.
or anything? No, he didn't even offer that.
No, I mean, I remember sitting down with did I sit down with the editor? No, there was a complete trust there.
Right.
It wasn't anything.
Wow. So, what about the poo story?
Oh my God, how hysterical is that? We were on a boat, and basically it was the first time that we'd dated. And
I know you've been seeing, according to
we've been
Roger,
seeing
this is the first time you consummated. You've been seeing each other a few weeks, or
and basically the next morning I was like, I actually don't know which part he read, but I was like, what the fuck was on the bed? And basically there was this brown stain, and I was like, I don't know whether he thought, both of us thought the same thing. And then it was like, but it didn't smell.
It smelled delicious.
It smelled so good you could eat it. And it was chocolate, guys.
That's a great story.
Isn't it so good?
It's the best story ever. And I mean, he doesn't say...
so many laughs. Honestly, we have so many laughs. We laughed our way through that relationship. And, people go, then why did you leave? It was like, because I didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
I was so young. It had a lot to do with who was Rachel, what did Rachel like, all of that. And it wasn't because there was no suffocation there. It was just my own, my own. And it was probably way before even him. I left home at 16.
Yeah. It's really sad. Like, I was listening to it out on a run, and I had to stop because I thought I was going to start crying, because it's like, it doesn't reflect badly on you, but you broke his heart so badly. But I think most adults have probably been in a situation where you've had your heart broken, and also you've been the person that's had to break another person's heart, and both perspectives are horrible, and you can sort of see it from both points of view, and it's not an easy read or listen. It's tough. You feel bad for you, and you feel bad for him.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you sit there and you go, is this about to come out of my mouth? When you're about to break up with someone that you actually really love. Yeah,
so according to me, he's reading like an architecture magazine or something, because he's looking at some home renovations, and he's asking you about cabinetry, benches or whatever.
Yeah.
And you say under your breath something like, I don't think I'll be there.
No. Yeah.
So how long before that had you sort of been in the departure lounge? Like a few months or? No,
it was, I don't.
Like, why did you vocalize it at that point?
Because you can't keep something like that in. You just can't. I can't. Like I said to you, I've really gone from my heart, and so from that point you go, oh, is it the way I'm feeling or isn't it? Is it or isn't it? And then when you do, you just go, I need to bring this up now to have this conversation. And how do you start a conversation like that?
God, I can't imagine what you were feeling at that point.
Yeah.
Because as soon as those words are out of your mouth, nothing's going to be the same ever again.
Yeah. And as you can see right now, I'm breaking into a menopause sweat, because I'm just literally thinking of the whole thing, which shows you that menopause is a whole bit, that we can get into that later. But it was hard because this is someone you love.
Yeah.
This is someone's kids you've shared, and still to this day, with the thought of how I said that, and how I still look back and go, how did I rack up the courage to break up with somebody I love because I didn't know who I was? Where is that confusion still? What is that, And sometimes you've just got to say things. You have to be in that truth of that moment and go, I don't know where I am, and I have to take that risk. And that's what life is, you have to take that risk of I can't mess this person around either. You know, I can't pretend I'm in love. Like, I can't pretend. I'm not going to go through my life pretending I'm in love with somebody or not in love with somebody or I've got this on my mind, because it wasn't a question of like whether I love him. Of course I loved him and still do love him dearly. That's not for people to take out of context either. But at the same time, like, I had to come with the truth of like, I don't know where this is at, and I need the space to figure this out. That's what it was, and then obviously it ended up in separating and divorce.
You took a while to divorce, didn't?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, and also, you know, like seeing Renee and Liam through that time. I mean,
how old were they at the time? So
they were
like
4 and 6.
Oh, 4 and 6. Oh, so still painfully young.
Still very, very young, yeah. So the whole thing was just really, it was an interesting time. But we always stayed connected and spoke, and as hard of a time it was. But at the same time, like, I look at Renee and Liam, and at that time, I know when I broke up, my whole life would be, obviously, I would have to remain working because that's what I did to support myself. But also my life would remain around the fact that I'm going to make sure that the kids, it's about their life, what they want to do, like be into, you know, Renee was into dance, Liam into hockey, Renee into soccer. And it wasn't about, at that time, there was obviously touring of they were getting into that age where they needed to either be in school or they were on getting tutored and being on planes flying around. So there was that pit. So there were lots of things, and it worked out for the best, you know. And, you know, Rod is an incredible human being. He was definitely a huge love of my life, and I love him and stand by him in everything he does. He has a beautiful wife, and they have amazing children. All those children are so deeply connected to all of us. There's a lot of love there. So how lucky am I, you know? I mean, as much as I haven't actually been in a relationship for a very, very long time, but
is it by choice or?
I don't know. It just kind of happens that way.
Yeah.
I remember I was on the psychic who told me I wouldn't be in a relationship for 5 years, and
Well,
I
yeah,
think my
what-
5 years is up now. But you know,
Was that Tyler Henry? You went on
Yeah.
the. Oh, really?
it's like you're not going to beat 5 years on like TikTok. It's done now. Come on.
So do you think you've been lucky in love or unlucky in love?
Oh, lucky, because I always, you know, my heart's always open to love, like always. At the same time, I mean, especially since when my mum died, that's funny because that's when it kind of closed off, I would say, as far as, you know, how important she was in my life. And actually, when I really reflect on it, how much I left home at 16 and then I was gone a lot of the time. I would see her, but really how much she was such a big effect on my life and a huge part of hugely involved in my life, but how much I didn't spend with her has been really something that's played on my mind for the last couple of months.
Your late teens and 20s were unbelievable. Like everything was accelerated. So you're married at 21, a mum at 23? 22.
And then Satin Return, that's when I broke up, funnily enough. Everyone who knows that Satin Return, 27, 28, when the shit hits the fan. What were you doing at 27 and 28?
Oh, I was I was just working in radio in Palmerston North, but I was a mess. I was a complete mess.
Yeah, something comes along on that. They call it Satin Return.
Right.
And it like literally shoves your whole, you go, who am I? What am I doing? Where am I going with my life? And that's exactly what happened to me when I broke up with Rod at that time.
Yeah.
But Mum, she was...
Yeah, I want to get into your relationship with your mum, but first of all on Rod. So one of my favourite. Well, why are you laughing?
No, he's this little superstar.
He's what?
He is he's one of the most funniest human beings you'll ever come across.
Was he?
You must have interviewed him.
No, I've never interviewed him, but whenever I see an interview with him, he's charismatic and he's funny and he's charming. And I can see why you fell in love.
Yeah.
I feel like he's one of those people where you don't see when you're 21, you don't see an old man looking in front of you. You just see this funny, cheeky, charismatic man.
I think you've hit the nail on the head because that's how I see people. I don't see a lot of I mean, of course you have the chemistry of how someone looks and all the rest of it, but ultimately, like, it is that, I mean, he's so charismatic.
Was he really is he into the model trains?
Yes.
Really? You didn't find that a little weird?
No.
Like, how badly is he into the model trains? Was it?
Renee! Dad and the trains.
Like, is it true when he goes on tour, like, he has, like, a second hotel room where...
No, he loves his trains. He loves his trains, doesn't he? He loves his trains.
It's his hobby.
He loves it. I just think it's great. He's very meticulous. He's very, very meticulous with them.
Yeah, he loves them.
Yeah.
Takes them on tour.
What did you think of your childhood?
Really?
Okay.
It's a therapy session. Oh, no, yeah... If you don't want to be on camera, that's fine. I read some interviews about Renee, and she was like quite wise. And you talk about how when you're a kid at school and people would ask what your dad does, you just say he's in entertainment or something, and not elaborate any further than that. Music industry.
I know.
Yeah.
I'd love to
cool.
actually listen to you guys, like listen to what their viewpoint of it is, because I haven't really.
It's a pretty crazy upbringing that you've had, and I've never met your brother, but I've met you now, and you both seem you seem very normal, like very normal and grounded, and I suppose that's a lot to do with you, Rachel, but it's got to be a reflection on Rod as well, I guess.
Oh God, yeah. Like he's just such a family person, isn't he? He's got a big heart, and just he's really. I know some people go probably like, why did you break up with him if you have so much love for him? But again, I think it was. You know, Rod knows who he is. You'll see that. He knows who he is. He knows what he loves. He knows, and I think,
yeah,
and Celtic, the dog. Meanwhile, the dog's still humping. I don't know what it was, but it just happened.
Yeah. It's one of my.
Sorry, no, thank you. Maybe
Renee,
you want to do don't.
Don't
get an interview, yeah.
So one of my favourite Rod songs. It's not actually his. It's a cover from a guy called Robbie Robertson called "Broken Arrow," and I don't even know what the song's about, but it's a bloody beautiful song.
Yeah.
And you're in the music video dancing around, and there was another song about the same time. You were, when you were with him, he sort of had a resurgence in his career and put out an album called Vagabond Heart. It was one of the biggest artists in the world. So how long was it afterwards that you'd hear a song like Broken Arrow or Have I Told You Lately That I Love You, that you could listen to it without like crying or feeling sad or guilt or shame or whatever the emotion was?
I think the Have I Told You Lately That I Love You was a really hard one, because obviously that was done on, I think, MTV at the time. For those who don't know what MTV was, Google it. But
that's right. It was MTV Unplugged, and I think you were side of stage holding Renee as a baby at the time.
Yeah, it was, and she was in the van, and I brought her out to listen to the song, and and that he dedicated that song at that time, and that was hard.
So, like I mean, he's one of those artists that's like, you could be at, I don't know, Bloomingdale's in the Grove or whatever, and that song would come on. Or
I know, I've been in a shop where that comes on, or when people see me walk in, they start playing it.
They don't.
Yes,
that's atrocious.
I swear to you, sometimes that happens, or it's just timing that, you know. And whenever I go, I'm like going, did that person just put that on, or did that person's just waiting to see what my reaction's going to be? And I just remain stone cold.
It could have been Stacey's mom, I guess. That would have been marginally worse, I guess.
That I feel sorry for the kids, but they had to go through the Stacey's Mom video.
Oh, what do you mean you feel sorry for them? So that was a song by a band
I thought I'll just do a little song, little music video, and nobody will know. And it became like a massive video.
Yeah, the band's called Fountains of Wayne.
Yeah.
The song's called Stacey's Mom, and it's a homage to this fantastic movie from the 80s, I think, called Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Yeah, so you just duplicating a scene from that in a red bikini. Well, how old were the kids at the time? Like teens or?
No. I think they were more like 10, 11, which is even 10 or 12, which is even worse, to be honest.
Yeah, why? Why is that worse?
Well, no, because I didn't think that anybody would see it. You know, but,
so you accept the job thinking, this isn't going to be
on top of the kitchen table, like in a corset, like taking off and it was down to the corset, and I was like, oh, no one's going to see this. And then of course, a lot of people saw it, and I guess it's just not something you want, your kids.
I don't know. It's a moment in your time, in your life, in your
Yeah.
career, and surely, like, I would have thought you look back now from the perspective of, a glowing woman in her early 50s and think, fuck yeah.
Yeah, no, I do now.
Yeah.
No problem. And thank God the kids have broken it. And they're like,
Yeah.
they have a good laugh over it, but I'm sure at the time.
Yeah. Oh, so those Rod songs, have I told you lately? So
Yeah. Yes.
so when you hear that now, like if that song comes on now, like how do you feel? Like
It hits inside. Like, I mean, I definitely have that, it's like that. Feel like that. That feeling. That's just that there's that association there. But there always will be, because that's what happens. I think, like the loves that you're in the same place. Like, we don't just stop loving, just because we can't be together. It just doesn't work like that. For me, it doesn't. Sorry, for some of you, it might. Obviously, in different scenarios, obviously there's some people that just cut off and it can't work. Absolutely. But we're just not getting on, and there is differences that you cannot be together, but you still love each other. There's possibility, and I think that you're an example of it. And two people can be adults and move forward and meet new people and grow, and it's the same thing. Like, I mean, people go, like, you go on about Rod, but at the same time, I mean, you're asking me the questions, but
yeah, sorry, that's on me. That's on me.
That's on you, not me.
But he is a big part of your life, and
I'm not going to not answer it.
I fully get it. I try and be friends with all of my exes, because the way I said, if I love someone, I'll love them forever.
Yeah.
Like, they'll always hold a special place in my heart.
Yeah, unless someone does something really that's obviously dangerous or traumatic like that. But if it's an amicable split up, or even sometimes when it's not, and you realize what your part was or their part in it was, and they come back, you can't help but not love them.
Yeah.
Every single person I've been out with, I would say hello to and respond to. Absolutely.
Yeah. Have you been in love since then, do you think?
Since Rod? Yeah, for sure. If you're going to ask me with who, I don't know. I think there was a couple of engagements. There's there's one engagement that didn't happen.
Oh, was that the ice hockey guy?
Yeah.
Right. Was he a bit
Look, it just didn't work out.
Yeah,
and
sometimes
the
these
best
things
thing, and again, I literally called him up, and thanked him. Thank God I didn't go down that road, because it wouldn't have been right, But did I love him? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Were there other people that I loved? Without a doubt.
And did you? This is nothing to that celebrity website, but if it's not a big relationship, then just no comment it. But did you and Robbie Williams, were you seeing each other for a while?
I can't get in.
Okay. I did, because I read some story online about some guy from a band, I think it was Stereophonics. He was at a bar with Robbie Williams, and then there was a thing with him and Rod. And
Oh, really?
yeah, apparently.
Really?
Him and Rod had a chat, and then Robbie was like, "Oh, come on, let's get out of here." So I wonder if Rob was like,
God.
"You treat her right," or
No, I don't think. No.
okay,
No,
we're not getting into that.
No.
Okay, that's fine. So should we get into your mum? Can we talk about your mum a little bit? Yeah, you so your mum passed away in 2018?
2017.
Yeah. And you shared you shared some beautiful and very personal posts on Instagram at the time. So you and your son, and on one of the posts you were both there on sort of beard watch.
Yeah.
So you do like shifts and then go home for a shower and then come back. What are your recollections of that time?
It was first I couldn't believe that obviously she had cancer, and then during that time I was just finishing up shooting Tour of Beauty, and then when it was so strange. I was actually in Fiji, and I was like, this part of me was like, I need to go home. And I came back and surprised her. And this is further down my feed in Facebook back in 2016. And I walked into the house, and Mum couldn't believe I was there. And she started crying, and I went over and hugged her, and I was like, oh my God, like I can't believe you're, so surprised. And she just turned around to me and she goes, I think I have cancer. And
so you came home from Fiji on a hunch?
Just not even on a hunch, just coming to surprise her because I was so close. But there was this feeling that I had in Fiji that I was like, I have to go home because I just I'm so close here. And I surprised her because we don't usually surprise her like that. And I walked in and she was like, oh my God, Rachel. And I actually cut the video off on Facebook because that's when she said, I think I have cancer. And I was like, what are you talking about? We don't have cancer in our family. And that's the ignorance, right? You don't think you have cancer in your family. And then basically went to the doctors the next day, and I could tell by the doctor's face at that point it was not good. And then it wasn't until the next, and I just going through that journey with her, and at the time, and I think maybe some people can relate to this. I don't know whether you can or you've been through scenarios like this or not, but
yeah, with friends, not no one as close as a mum, but with a couple of friends.
And you go, people get into that state, who's going to look after that? Because, it's a journey going through, obviously, cancer. And I always said so many people who have that disease are in such truth. You can't deny their truth.
What do you mean?
Because they say what they feel.
Right.
There's so much truth there.
Yeah, and I suppose that's the... if there is one like blessing or silver lining with a like a disease like cancer, is that you do get the chance to like leave nothing inside.
No.
So things that you want to say that
you don't fuck around. Like you don't like my relationship at that time. Like I remember she was in radiation and I was walking up ahead of her and I was crying because I was just like, I can't. Like for me to keep seeing, like for her to keep going through this, like I was like, and it was fresh, right? So your endurance is building at that time when you're journeying, let alone the person who's suffering. And I turn around to her and I go, this really sucks. And she goes, thank God you said that. It does suck, it really sucks. And I mean, sucks isn't even relevant to how big of a situation that was. And we literally hugged each other and just started crying. And there was a relief there that it was like, okay, finally, it's not like, we're going to got this, we're going to get through this, we're going to do this. Yeah. Those moments come, but they're not relative because at that time we both needed to just fall into each other's arms and surrender to the fact that this journey is really hard. And she had incredible friends around her that have been amazing. And during that time, my head was down and just concentrated basically on her. And then I kind of left LA and basically came down and looked after her until she died.
Was it a special time?
It was really hard because Liam was going through playoffs at the time, and I went up to London to be with Liam for that time because the doctors were like, it's okay. Then came back down, and then when I walked through the door, and Renee had come back down while I was up there to be with Mum too, so that it was like this thing. And Renee, she was, God bless her, it was really, by the stage it had taken over quite a bit, but before I went up to London, I was in Mum's rest home, and because she needed palliative care, obviously. And I said, Mum, if there's one thing you regret in your life, what do you regret? And she goes, I regret not fully being who I am. And that today still hits because people need to go and be who they are and not apologize for it. And I think the truth and authenticity, and not be ashamed of who you are and not hide any of that is so key in what your journey is in life, or be something else, because we still care about what people think. And that for me was like a message that's why I basically picked up sticks after she passed away and went home back to LA and kind of re-looked at my life, and I was like, I've been around the spiritual world my whole life with my mother. Like, I'm going to India and I'm going to, get through this pain of grief, which you never, it's always there. But she said such a key thing for every human being on this planet, that we hear over and over again is be who you are. And honestly do that and be that. And that changes. And be in that state of evolution of who you are. And if you want to be a vet when you're young and you end up teaching I can only speak for myself, yoga when you're older, fucking great. Do that.
Absolutely.
And do you know what? those worlds collide. There is no, oh, I'm spiritual, namaste, and all the rest of it, and then I'm not going off and having fun and a laugh with my friends. There's an integration process there, and that's who I want to be and represent for people, like of who I am. You know, I want to be, there's those still intense moments, which is exactly what my mum was. Incredibly talented, incredibly spiritual, very, very psychic. She made tarot cards. She made, I mean,
she was like. So what did she? So what did she regret exactly? Because I felt like she was.
But she was. It was such a, like, now everyone talks about that spiritual world as such. Like, but it was always kind of like, oh, don't talk about it. I'm talking mainstream. Like, you know, don't
'cause it's a bit
really
kooky.
talk. Like it's a bit weird. And now it's not. Like, everybody's kind of like out of the, you know, someone will have a crystal or, you know, I thought I saw that or I felt that when I was in a room. So none of that's weird. And I think that she regretted, like, there were parts of it that she regretted not fully stepping into.
Yeah, right. Gotcha.
And it was just such a powerful moment because she goes, I wanted to be the one who was in the kimono with the, you know, with the long, you know, thing with the tarot cards and not be worried about that. I think there was also, it also comes down to confusion in your own self of, like, you know, oh, I want to be the one in kimono with the tarot cards, but then I also need to go and do a job and I need to do that. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, who am I?
It's
like,
not lucrative enough to be a 9 to 5.
I know.
Yeah.
So I think that, you know, that plays with all of us because we are human beings in this incredible world, like having real life experiences, yet we're still very connected to what is this spirituality. So I think to integrate and not to be so different or weird needed to happen. And I think with some very amazing people, Emma Milden actually being one of them, who came along at that time when I was going through that, is, I think, a great person who kind of pushed that forward in New Zealand and around the world, actually. But yeah, do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
But I still think no matter what, like, there is something about, like, we're cautiously kind of, do you ever find it on Instagram? You're like, oh, what should I put out there? Because what are people going to think?
All the fucking time. And it's
See,
terrible.
That's our fucking problem.
It's terrible,
But this is the problem. You shouldn't
Yeah.
care.
Yeah, and I like to think I'm fairly comfortable in my own skin, but
I'm with
even
you.
there's that self-editing aspect.
Yeah. I still, even after my mum told me that, you're like sitting there going, oh, should I push the button? Oh, don't worry, it's gone now. But it actually was quite funny and quite relevant, right? But you're too scared because what are people going to say?
Yeah. When do you miss her the most?
I actually was in India like a couple of weeks ago, and for some reason there's just intense moments that sometimes happen. But I miss her, love her. It's something that we all we don't avoid this scenario. It's how, you know, she has inspired me to live my life courageously again. And to continue doing that and to just keep evolving in that spiritual side and that naughty side, because she was kind of naughty.
Was she?
She, when she was 16, she used to have a mini skirt right up to here with her beautiful big hair and her false eyelashes on, and she was stunning. And she still had that. So yeah, I think that's the message from her is that integration of being, for us being human beings, and also to have that wacky cuckoo side. Isn't it those are the ones that we love being around?
Absolutely. Yeah, because they're the most authentic, I think.
Yeah.
The more, it's funny, the more someone doesn't seem to give a fuck, the more you enjoy being around them.
Yeah.
Because they are being more authentic.
Yeah.
Yet there's this little bit, I think, in most of us that holds you back from doing that.
Well, I would say here too is that we're very concerned because, you know, people raise their phones and they take a snippet or they overhear a conversation, and the next thing, this is a problem. Yet no one's in on the whole conversation or the whole snippet.
Yeah.
So therefore then we get thrown under the rails, and like everyone just needs to, like, for me, I'm just like, I won't live like that in half truths. Like,
yeah. Well, I suppose from your position especially, like, you've probably been subjected to some gossip and some stuff over the years that you know is utter bullshit.
Yeah.
And completely unfair and unfounded. So I suppose you've got that perspective.
Yeah.
But a lot of people with very boring lives, I suppose they get excitement out of it. Even if it's not like celebrity gossip, it's just their friends supposedly kissing someone at work or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's I agree with you. I just don't buy into that at all.
No, no. But I mean, I miss her on a you know. But at the same time, I for something so hard to happen, she's given me the biggest boot up my ass that I could ask for, and yeah. So
really, in
I
terms of
just
like this,
be a living.
In terms of like the journey you're on now.
Yeah, just yeah, like it was. Yeah, that journey. Yeah, with those words that she said were really, really relevant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What have you like? So you're alive and well. Have you got any regrets?
Not right now.
No.
No.
That's
I mean,
good.
real estate in New Zealand, is that a regret?
What? You don't have a house here?
By the way, it was just a really spiritual, deep moment, and now I talk about my one regret is not buying a house in New Zealand. Other than that, no.
Now it's
Look
probably
at
a
the
good
prices. I'm like, are you joking me? No, that's such a money related.
That's a great answer.
Yeah.
It's very light relief. So you were spiritual. Your mum was quite spiritual. Do you feel her around?
No, because the one thing, another very good friend of mine who was around at the time, I had all these amazing women like Michelle Buchanan, she's a numerologist, Emma Milden, who's very well known for her books and stuff, as well as Kim, who is from Wiccan. And all these women came out of nowhere and they were just around me. And I remember ringing up Michelle and I was like, Michelle, if she's so spiritual, why can't she just come and sit on the end of my bed? Like, where is she? Why is the tarot card not flipping out of the deck? Or because she made tarot cards as well, which are these little cards which have all these like different meanings for those. Google it at home as well. Just tell everyone to Google it. If you don't understand what I'm saying, Google it.
Right, you're giving the audience a lot of homework to do.
Yeah.
There's a list of things to Google.
When you're watching this interview, bring a notebook because you're going to have to Google. But no, and I was like, why isn't she sitting on the end of my bed? Why don't I feel while I'm sleeping an imprint or, and that's just ego, just wanting you to show up. But
one last visit or whatever.
But the other, I was actually in Delhi and I had this overwhelming feeling of just memories of her. And I just every time I go, where did she go? Like how did that happen? Because it happened so fast. Like within 18 months she was gone, and I was like, well, which is actually quite slow in some people's
it's all
scenarios,
who you're comparing
relative.
to, right?
Yeah. But I kind of accept that. Like, I mean, this is what we all that's our way. How we go out, obviously. Suffering and seeing someone suffer in that way, and many people that suffer in that way is a very hard on that person. And that was one thing that I really like. I think they're called when people pass jewelers. I think there's people that help through that stage, but it was. I'm sure she's around, but for as spiritually connected as I am, it's funny because it really is kind of a buffing situation where I go, I actually don't know. I haven't had that experience. I haven't had that image of her. And it's actually okay. It's actually okay.
Yeah.
Because where are they? I don't know. None of us know.
Some friends of mine, Murray and Denise, they lost their daughter Jasmine to cancer in her early 20s. And she was such a live wire and such a presence and such a spirit. They went to a hypnotist show and they're like, if anyone's going to present themselves tonight, it's going to be Jazz. And she didn't. And they're like, nah, we don't believe.
Yeah.
So what do you think now? What do you think happens when you die? Is there like an afterlife? What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. Like there's such a bigger picture to the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it's so complex. And, we're talking about quantum physics to all sorts of things, like, from science. And I think science is really starting to catch up with that spirituality that we are seeing, even with, different breathing techniques or something relative to the spiritual so-called woo-woo world. We are seeing science kind of back some of it. So, and I think the dimensions, people talk about 2-dimension, 5-dimension, like it just keeps going. But I think if we are able to think it, understand it, see it, whatever it is, there's limitless possibilities. And I don't know what that looks like, but you can't deny energy. And energy is something that immediately when we feel connected to someone, that's energetic.
Yeah.
So to me, that is the proof, is energetic response. It's not actually our skin. Well, it is because our flesh is alive, but there's an energetic response that happens. And the same thing inside, like there's this energetic shift that we can change any possibilities within our own self with changing our perception or our consciousness. So I think energy-wise, without a doubt, energetically, there has to be some kind of energetic afterlife, whatever that is. It's just bizarre that we come in these vehicles. I think Laura calls them earth suits, which are so great.
It's Laura, that's Andy Hayden's daughter.
Right? Earth
It's
suit. We're in these earth suits.
Yeah.
And we get to perform for a little bit and then off we go again. Yeah.
One thing I like to touch upon with every guest on the podcast is their mental health. How's your mental health? Has it been good over the years? I know you're incredibly spiritual, so you obviously
I was, when I was growing up, when I was young, I actually ended up in therapy quite a bit. And
what age are we talking?
Oh yeah, like
pre-model.
Way before young, like in the 10s and 11s.
Wow, so this is like therapy's reasonably normal now. Not
so
LA normal, but it's getting there.
Yeah.
But this was not a thing back then, I guess, in the 80s.
I was a very inward child, and I took things really personally. That's why I said I would always talk to the animals and stuff, because I thought that they understood me. And that's why I think I had a very close relationship with my mum. But I just thought everything was suffering to me, it seemed, around me.
How do you mean? Can you elaborate on that?
I don't know. Like, I could feel things.
Right.
And I felt like that person sad or that animal sad, and like there was deep sadness and suffering. And that was not relative to what my family life was, just so everybody knows. There was no suffering. We had, changed to different houses and all that, but my mum was like our anchor. Like it was, but there was...
So was it true empathy, or was it like an imagination thing?
Well, empathic. Like I remember when I was... just before I had my back surgery, I was going through a bunch of stuff as well. And because I've been in and out of therapy with different therapists throughout my life.
Yeah, have you?
And and it wasn't until actually I stopped like 15 years ago. But to me, therapy, whatever you need to do, run, whatever you need to do, it's important to find the way what helps you. But yeah, I was 15, 16, I think, when I went to therapy. And it wasn't, I don't know, like sometimes it helped, sometimes it didn't, it was, to me, it was just part of the process of life. Do you know what I mean? Like,
but it wasn't very, I guess normal back then.
No.
Like, it's not the sort of thing you'd tell anyone about.
No. But Mum could tell. Like she was very much, sensitive to that kind of stuff. And then, once when I got older, there was in and out of, going to therapists, and some therapists were great, some were fucking terrible. But eventually, I have to say, like, for me, it's a real can of worms, I guess, because I was very, very young when I had I was very, like the whole childhood thing was a very inward child. My mum obviously saw I needed help. She did that, she got that. And then I kind of jumped out of it. Then I would start running or start doing ballet, and that helped. But, I think the conversation of no matter where you're at or how little you think something is, and you think it's not big enough to really worry you, well, it's big enough to jolt you off, then find the help that you need, or talk
yeah.
to your friends, because you want to be in a place of compassion and love and care and feel safe and nurtured. So no matter how little that thing you think is little, it's big enough to jolt you off. So find that care that you need, of safety, of being safe. And I think that's what those, whether they were right or wrong, they provided safety and someone to listen to. And I think sometimes parents, as much as you have a great relationship like I did, Mum was still great. She, you need to talk to somebody who can listen to you,
Yeah,
not who can listen to you, sorry, that is different than me, because, I think it's good.
Yeah, absolutely it is. Feels so good. So the Rachel that we saw, like, from 16 onwards, who didn't seem necessarily very inward, like, she was very
that's
outgoing.
what I mean. Like,
was that a mask? Did you wear a good
all of a
mask,
sudden,
or?
no, all of a sudden everything. No, because at the time, I also remember when I was modelling, actually bring up a good point, I was modelling so much that when I was done with work, I would go to the church because I knew people would be in there. So I could actually sit in the church and be surrounded by people, so I wasn't alone. And then I'd go back, and then the next day I'd be leaving to go and do another shoot or whatever. But I would use a church, like a religious place, to actually have that moment of feeling connected, centered with people.
Because otherwise, you'd be back in your hotel room on your own?
Yeah, or something like that,
Right.
yeah. So it was funny that's what I kind of went to, yeah.
Unbelievable. And how are you today? You feeling good today?
Yeah, like I just, I spent a lot of time in India, and that's created different tools for me, like, leaning into some fears that sometimes that arise. Like it's a completely different type of, I guess, therapy of looking for things. But at the same time, like I said, if anything got to a point where it continues, I would absolutely ask for help from somebody now. Yeah.
So what does your day look like now? It seems like you're doing a lot of meditation and a lot of yoga.
No, I actually
this is just going by what you put out on Instagram.
And also a lot of walking around with cows and
and talking to them.
Yeah, and talking to them. No, like I do that, but at the same time, like I was just in Jaipur, like I was looking at doing like a couple of things with different creating pajama sets and like bedwear and all that kind of stuff, because that's where a lot of cotton is, and obviously making sure it's ethical as well. But I go and meditate, and then I was very excited to know that Renee's down here. Obviously I knew Renee was coming down here, so spend time with her, but spend time with friends. But it's not all yoga and meditation.
That's just what we see on Instagram. It's like, oh my God, does she ever get out of the downward dog pose?
I know, but I do, when I get to India, like I do go into these really, deep dives and then come out. I do love it,
Yeah. Oh, it makes you feel good.
Yeah.
Makes you feel good. I've fallen off the wagon, but I did TM, Transcendental Meditation, for a number of years, like 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the afternoon. I should get back to it because it felt really good. It was like having a power nap.
It does. Yeah. It reboots it and centers yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're going to become a grandmother for the first time in May.
Do you know how many times people are going, what are you going to get called? Like, what is the baby going to call you and stuff? And I was
Granny.
Just
Granny
do
sounds
Granny.
old.
I know.
But I feel like you'll lean into it. Like you're.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah. So this is your son.
Yeah.
Liam.
Liam and Nicole. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Does it feel? Because I feel like your daughter Renee, like if she's ever lucky enough to get pregnant, I feel like the mum's more involved when it's the daughter. Does it feel that way from your perspective when it's your son's partner having the baby?
No, to me, as long as Liam and Nicole are happy and they've known each other for so long, and also I think to have this, it's just amazing. Honestly, I was just in disbelief, and it's beautiful because the family's big anyway. Kimberly has Delilah, and now we've got Ruby and and Liam and Nicole, but I don't know. I don't know what the grandma territory looks like. But
It's exciting though, and you're
Yeah.
very young to be a grandmother as well.
And Nicole and Liam and Tina, like all of us are. I mean, it's all very close anyway. There's just. It just seems like this big family anyway, you know,
Yeah.
and and Nicole has a big family as well. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess so. But at the same time, I feel involved with Liam anyway. But I mean, I'm always traveling too, so I'm interested to see how it all. But I've blocked off literally the entire summer because I just want to, be there for
around.
them if they need,
Be around.
if they need me.
Yeah, it's one thing you get off social media. You seem to have.
But there is a big connection between the mother and daughter, I think, too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that there is a really important, but at the same time, I am fully there and I'm so excited for...
Do you know if you're allowed to be at the birth or?
Oh, God, I'd have no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, that's really exciting. This is just basing purely on social media, but it seems like you have a fantastic relationship with both your kids.
Yeah, no, they're honestly, they're just amazing. I mean, we were just talking about it before. It's funny how things happen because with Liam, I was around like when he was up in Spokane up to when he was in his 20s. Then he went over there, and then now I'm spending, obviously, Renee and I are spending a lot of time together with that. So, as they're growing different relationships, I'm more the one who's like, I don't want to be like actually stationed anywhere. I just want to follow them around. Like, I just want to follow, not be annoying, but I just want to be like, I'm going to dip into like Liam and
cool.
Nicole and the baby, and then go and see Renee and, whoever, when whatever happens there. So I get to, I think that's exciting for me. I sold my house in 2020 when the COVID hit, and basically
you're homeless.
Renting a house. All my house is in storage, and so I'm just floating around. So I think that's what people don't understand either, is I don't actually have the so-called family house anymore. I have I'm living in my 1-bedroom apartment with my Pomeranian, following my kids around. So that's it. Yeah.
Well, that paints a very sad picture, which I think is not a fair reflection.
But it's not. No, that's not a sad picture.
What did you have how long were you in your last house for? Was it like
Oh my God,
the house
years.
where you raised the kids?
Yeah, raised the kids.
Was that sad, or are you not
Oh
materialistic
my God,
at all?
no. It was really, it was sad. It was our family home, but
Yeah.
it was just getting to the point where everybody was traveling, and it was me and the dog inside the house, and I would obviously be going and visiting Renee and Liam. And so when I got back from being in lockdown in India, I just moved into where my sister was just for the time being and haven't really left. So, now I have to kind of at some point make a decision of where I want to kind of cement myself. But at the same time, I don't really want to.
Yeah.
I like living simply.
I'm envious. I'm envious of you. I feel, I suppose I'm
Do you
kind
know
of
what it means?
materialistic. I feel like I always need a base somewhere, but I think it's very courageous what you're doing, just having shit in storage. And they're just things.
Yeah, but I mean, I have all my stuff that I love in this 1-bedroom apartment, and people are like, oh my God, but at the same time, I love it. It's lock, leave, goodbye, and I go and see the kids. It's
Amazing.
a great situation.
And the next 30 years of
suitcases.
30 years of your life, how's that going to look? I feel like
50 years of my life.
50?
I'm planning to leave to 100. What are you? What?
Yeah,
Yeah.
No, well,
80? No.
So what are you now? 53?
Yeah.
So
I was like, oh, how old am I? 69.
So I think if you can get to 80 and still be in good shape, I think that's good. Anything after there, it's like a grey area. You don't know what you're going to get.
As long as you're still absolutely cognitive and you're still able to physically move, I think, you keep going.
On the assumption you've got another 30 good years,
Yeah.
how's that going to look? What do you want to do? Anything you want to do that you haven't done yet?
No, at the same time, I don't think I'd change anything right now as far as going and doing what I want to do 6 months of the year. Obviously, that can be over any months or 2 weeks or whatever it is. And then just be able to be with my kids. That's what I want. Be able to share the times that my kids have when they have families. And then go and do the work that I'm doing as well. So I see it as a good thing for now. That's what it is. Now, as far as a relationship, I don't know if when that person comes along, then great.
Yeah. Do you think that one or that one true love is still out there? I just think
being in menopause right now, I don't know how that would work.
What does that mean exactly?
Just going into hot sweats, like it's so good. I've only done 2 since we've been filming, so that's not bad. And especially that we're talking about emotional stuff, so it tends to rise with emotion. But I am lucky. I just kind of, and I think also the yoga for me helps because I know when that it's just like heat rising in your body. And I'm lucky that's all I have. So, I'm in a fortunate
what are the
situation.
other symptoms? What have you got to look forward to?
Everyone at home, get your notebook out. Google it. Especially men. Please Google this for your wives.
Sorry, you have to pardon my ignorance here.
No, but it's really fascinating.
Yeah.
You should definitely get a doctor who is informed on the subject because women would be craving, especially for a man to understand it too. I think it's nice because I think, especially with the heat and the rapid emotions that can, when it first started happening to me, I was like, oh, that's a really fast emotion to feel. And, you know, with the tools that I have, with what I've learned to kind of calm that down. But the sweat's up, and it's not a great time because during COVID, you don't want to be sitting there sweating because people are like, do you have a fever?
Yeah, especially on a plane.
I know.
Exactly. So, has it sort of changed your personality in a way, do you think?
No, I don't think so.
No.
Do you think so?
No, absolutely not.
Just sweat. I don't mind. I'm actually.
You go to India a lot. You're going to sweat in India.
Exactly. That's like divine timing that I'm actually there. But to be honest with you, I sweat a lot. You know, I'm a sweater anyway. So
yeah. And how do you feel about aging? Like I feel like you're very good with aging. Yeah, and you've done TV shows about it, and but you've been from that model background. I suppose it's something everyone's sort of curious about.
Yeah.
Have you had any work done or just stuff for TV?
No, like I did. You know.
You did Botox for TV, For
did
Tour
Botox
Beauty.
for Tour Beauty. Like, there's definitely, you know, situations that I look at now and go, okay, like, do your eyelids need to start being done? Like, you know, when does that start happening? You know, sometimes around my neck, like, you kind of get crazy. But this is all just that stage of awareness that we have, and we see so much on social media of like, and that now a woman who's really done filler and Botox and different things, like they're happy with what they're doing, but it's also become somewhat the norm too, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think, again, you have to do what makes you happy. You know, you have to do what makes you happy. You know, if you want to tell people, great. If you don't want to tell people, then great too. It's nobody's business. But I mean, for now, but I definitely go, oh, you know, what shall I do? I try and keep things really simple with my beauty regime as far as products and stuff. But as far as, you know, food, keeping it simple, not a lot of sugar. Keeping away from all the, you know, the wheats and stuff as much as I can. But again, with diet, like someone will be like, oh, you said that on you know, the podcast or whatever. But sometimes I'll have pasta. Sometimes I'll go and eat, you know, a fish sometimes, you know, or a piece of chicken or whatever. It just depends. And then sometimes it just all falls away. You know, I don't eat meat whatsoever.
Yeah, whatever your body's craving.
You know? Yeah.
You're not much of a drinker, are you?
No, I did a lot of that.
Did you?
Back then. Well,
when
you know,
20s.
I had fun. Yeah. Those were some fun times. The 20s and 30s definitely had my moments.
Yeah, amazing. I think you've got to get it out of your system.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was fun. It was fun for a moment.
And what about exercise now? Do you still run at all?
No, because I had back surgery. So I had S1L4 surgery on my back. Part of me would love to, because do you know what the part I love about running? That struggle at like 15 to 20 minutes, and then all of a sudden you push through and you get to that stage where you just could go forever and ever and ever. That moment, to me, that struggle is just like anything we do in life that, you know, you're trying to get, like, you know, your pace corrected, and then the mind goes, and then the breath goes, and then this goes, and then your pace gets off, and then all of a sudden, like I said, between 15 and 20 minutes, I guess, depending on how fit you are, that push through that happens, and then all of a sudden that expansion happens, and or you could run forever.
Yeah, it's almost like a flow state.
Oh my God.
But
exactly.
even on the days when that doesn't happen, like you never get home and think, I regret doing that.
No.
You always feel so much better. So what do you do to keep fit now? What's wrong with
do
your
a
back?
lot-
Why can't you run?
Well, no, I just have to probably like,
Retrain.
yeah, and I'd probably, I mean, I would love to. I would really love to. Maybe it's something that I should look back into because, I mean, but I do a lot of walking, a lot of up and down, a lot of hiking. I'll do yoga. And I also love doing, like, Renee's got me into Body Sculpt Society, which is like you do dancing as well. I think it's always good to have a good dance and a good laugh too. So any of those types of workouts as well. Weights is also important too for like someone who's older. Fuck, 53, really?
I know. How does this happen, right? But when do you have a moment every now and then when you look in the mirror and you're like, oh shit, that's me?
Just a photo. Like, can we delete that photo?
Oh,
especially in the morning.
You still look fabulous, I reckon. I think you look
Thanks.
great. You look
But-
great. I think you're aging absolutely beautifully.
Thank you. So are you.
Oh, bullshit.
What,
some
really?
Days, some days I look in the mirror and it's like, oh shit, that is me.
But
that
men
is the
like
current.
age a lot easier. Like, they don't wrinkle.
I don't know. Don't know if I agree with that.
He's feeling uncomfortable.
Yeah. Hey, it has been so wonderful having you over today.
Oh my
It's
God,
amazing.
no.
You're an absolute New Zealand treasure.
Aw.
Okay, at the beginning I mentioned the thing, the celebrity walk at Victoria Park just over the road. Like you're on there amongst some iconic Kiwis. There's a lot of who are still alive, but a lot of who are dead now, like Sir Edmund Hillary, Dame Fenna Cooper, Rob Muldoon, Barry Trump, Peter Blake. And it's amazing. It's like you, like I don't think I can paint a picture successfully enough for the younger listeners and viewers to this podcast about just how famous you are. The only thing comparable is probably Lorde recently. Different sort of career path in terms of music, but that's the level of fame we're talking. It was what you went through is crazy.
Yeah, I hope. I'm looking at maybe writing a book. I've been really reluctant to do that, or an audio or a Kindle or whatever you other generations,
all the things.
whatever it is.
Yeah, why have you not?
Soon.
Why have you not? You've done a book, You've done like a tour of duty book.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Never a book about your life. Why not?
I think I'm ready to do it now. I think I'm definitely ready to do that. And I actually want to do two because I think the spiritual journey is really, because that's got a lot of comedy in it too. You know, it has a lot of, so I think I'd like to do two different types of books. But yeah, I think I'll do that soon. But I'm just really grateful. And I think that the New Zealand, I don't know whether this is weird to say, but I think the support of New Zealand really made like who you are, because there's the support of New Zealand there. You know, I don't know. It was just weird timing, I guess, or the timing was what happened. I mean, I still was getting the bus doing modelling, you know. So it's the whole thing is just bizarre when you look back from this quiet inward person who, like I said, was having her moments, and then like 16 hit. It was like someone came along and like threw the sheets off and was like, this is a completely different human being. Like, honestly, it was like that. And I'll tell you what I did have. I had toxoplasmosis, and the only way the doctors said, like, you'd have to stay in bed for the next 9 months, my mum goes, no way, you're going to a naturopath, took me to a herbalist, got me on this disgusting tea that I drank for like 3 months, got better. She also said, I think it was this amazing Indian doctor, and she said, you need it was called a metamorphic massage, and she started massaging my feet. She was a ballerina too. And I was like, oh, you know, what that mum's like, this is what I grew up with. The next thing, she goes, in 10 days, you're going to see something happen. I swear to you, I don't know what happened to me, but I was like this quiet inward child. All of a sudden, I was outspoken. Don't talk to that thing like that. No, you do that. Like, completely outspoken. And the next thing I was, and like working in a modelling agency.
Amazing. How bizarre.
Yeah. So those scenarios, that was a bit weird. That was a little bit of the woo-woo part of the story.
But it's good that you can recognise the woo-woo parts of the story.
Yeah, like who has I don't even know Google that too, metamorphic massage.
Oh God, there's so much homework.
What is a metamorphic massage?
I've got no idea. I'm going to be Googling that as well.
I don't even know whether we should put that out there.
Oh, maybe we need to edit that bit out. Edit that bit out and the bit about Robbie Williams, maybe. Hey, Rachel Hunter, thank you so much. You are an absolute national treasure. And it's been wonderful having
So are you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for
And
sharing
I really
your stories.
appreciate your dog humping the cactus. He's just finding, he's exhausted. He's tired.
Hey, love you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.